said is that... Okay, how come? On January 7th, 2013, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been furnished by inclusion thereof in the annual schedule of meetings for 2013, which has been posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to the Hour Town, the Record, the Community News, and the County Seat newspapers, and distributed to all persons, if any, requesting copies of same pursuant to said act. In case of an emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room there immediately to my right and the double doors at the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio and may be rebroadcast.
And Councilman Fabray, lead us in the flag salute. Everyone, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mayor Padovano. Here. Council members Maroney.
Here.
Eisenberg. Neglio. Ballerini is absent. Fleischman.
Here.
Fabray.
Here.
Borough Attorney Ronald Dario.
Here.
Borough Clerk Jean Pellegrin is here. Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here.
Okay. Liniak.
Honorable Mayor and Council, we issued an engineer's report dated the 7th of this month for tonight's meeting. It's a 3-page report. The first item in the report is the EIT recovery program, in particular the pump station project. The borough's conflict attorney, Mr. Sukas from Noel Amoroso, and Mr. Sokolich, the borough premises conflict attorney, are working together to finalize the interlocal agreement. Subsequently, the project will be bid. I know they're discussing the matter with each other to finalize that agreement. The second item within the list relates to the Spring Valley Road project. As Councilman Fleischman had requested, our office had contacted the contractor. They had prepared and issued a check to the homeowner at the corner of Parkway and Spring Valley for their damaged irrigation system. Today we received AJM's maintenance bond. We're going to be forwarding the closeout documents to the borough so that the borough can acquire the remainder of the grant funding for the project. Item 3 on the list relates to the Bergen County paving program, Maywood Avenue. I know the borough had some discussions with the Board of Education as it related to the location of the crossing at the Maywood Avenue School. The county was not going to maintain the crossing as located with the stairs due to the fact that an ADA ramp couldn't get a pedestrian to the top of that sidewalk above those stairs. So that ramp will be relocated to be coincident with the library. It'll match and connect the two public facilities together. It'll in actuality be, in my opinion, safer because it now will be right located at a T intersection with that exit drive, the northern exit drive on Maywood Avenue. Based on that discussion, we've submitted the revised ADA ramp figures to the county. They're under review. Hopefully approval will be forthcoming, and then the borough could move forward with the construction of those ramps and then the paving of Maywood Avenue.
That's also going to wind up extending that drop-and-go lane for the school, so hopefully that'll help them as well, because now there's a big section that's leveled off.
Exactly. That will help with people having the ability to drop students off when they go to school in the morning, or pick up in the afternoon, too. The fourth item on the list relates to the municipal aid grant, East Hunter. The borough had acquired, again, as I discussed last month, $150,000 for East Hunter. We understand that the borough would like to implement the paving program as it relates to that project, so we'll be issuing a proposal prior to the next mayor and council meeting for consideration by the governing body. The final item on our list is the Bergen County open space for year 2013. There was a call for project and an email issued by Open Space for any potential projects or recreational park improvements. The grant is required to be submitted by August 29, 2013. If the borough had any projects they'd like to consider, we'd be glad to help in filling out that document and submitting it. It is a matching grant, though. It's not a fully funded grant. I'd be glad to answer any questions or take any comments from the governing body.
Questions from the engineers?
If I may?
Sure.
With the paving prices,
Sure.
are we just considering Hunter Avenue right now, or are we considering other streets as well?
My understanding also is that we'll also be taking a look at the section on Spring Valley that wasn't included in the prior paving program.
I've had a conversation, Roberta and I have had a conversation with the borough engineer. That section will probably be included, as well as the parking lot for the Memorial School, or not Memorial School, it's actually Borough
The
parking.
Fairmont.
The Memorial School uses it a lot on Palmer and Paramount. That's the goal. We'll talk about the capital projects, the capital bond later tonight a little bit, but that's the thought process at this point. That's going on in our conversations.
Mayor, if I might, just on the library side of that school crossing, they finally, Hackensack Water did reduce that, so that's out of the way as a tripping hazard and other kind of hazard. And then also with regard to number 5 with the Bergen County Open Space, our grant writer has already started a process for some of the things that we talked about for improvements at the park. So we'll be in conversation so we could work together on that, but she's already, done some of the background work, so she knows where we'd like to go with that.
Not a problem. We'd be glad to aid them in
Thank
any
you.
document preparation.
I'm sorry, you said a crosswalk where at the library?
At the library, there was a Hackensack,
Water,
Right.
shut-off.
Right.
Actually raised above the sidewalk.
it was about 6 inches up, and it is now back where it should be.
The other item,
I don't know if that lid has been put on.
well, the lid by the DPW, there's a water valve, water curve
Yeah.
valve in the middle of the street that's wide open, there's no lid on it.
That's the other one I gave them, and nobody said anything to me. This one I know because I passed it, has been taken care of. I did give both of them to United Water.
It's just a missing cap, or is it
Yeah,
raised?
that's-
Yeah, it's kind of like a major hole in the ground.
And if we're looking at the Fairmount Avenue parking lot, you may want to look at repairing that catch basin right by the crosswalk by the school as
Well,
well.
there's that one, and there's also one on Edel where I think that parking lot might drain to it. I don't know whether you had a chance yet to really take a good look at that, Greg,
It's right by the school crosswalk,
Okay.
that's sunken in, the asphalt
Oh.
is shot, the curb is broken in.
can't miss it.
There's a cone.
And that's
Oh, I
on,
guess I had-
that's on Fairmount?
Right opposite the parking lot, right by the Memorial School crosswalk.
As it relates to some of those capital improvement projects, we intend by the end of the week to have a series of estimates for the governing body to review so that you can prioritize or determine what funds you require.
Thank you.
I have a question. Anything in Borough that qualifies as the Blue Acres? I know the Open Space is doing there's an initiative for Blue Acres, and that's not, that's actually just whatever a borough or town can come up with.
Sure, yeah, we'd be glad to look into that. Those would be properties within the floodplain that would be affected by a flood. I know a series of properties that would potentially be considered, and I'll provide that information to
I
you.
appreciate it.
Eisenberg Express. Anybody else have questions for the engineer?
Thank you.
No pending ordinances. Correspondence from board request.
I just wanted to report for our June primary, we had 401 of our voters come out, which is 6.73%. We have the June 19th, just what's coming up before the next meeting. Wednesday, June 19th is the last day to change party affiliation prior to the special primary election, which will be held on the 13th of August. And anybody has any questions with all the new elections coming up, please feel free to give me a call in the office. And I know the administrator wanted to speak about July 5th, in the election day. I just didn't want to...
That's okay, either one of us doesn't matter.
That's it, that's all I have.
Mayor, I did want to speak a little bit about the parking spaces that the town has available, and unfortunately, Patty was kind enough from our town to ask for this, and I did not have the information available at that time. But there are, at this time, 11 parking spaces available at the library parking lot. Those spots are available 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday, 24 hours on Sundays and holidays. There are 3 spots still available, parking lot behind the Maywood Inn. All our borough parking spaces are rented at $40 a month per spot, and anyone interested would actually deal with Diane Morell in the records window in the Borough Hall on the first floor. Quite soon after one more tree is taken down, the parking spaces available at the pool parking lot on Duvier will be available. And what I'm hoping to do is, prepare some kind of flyer that we will, besides the information being in our town, but a flyer distributed to people in that immediate area to let them know that those spaces are available, since everybody's always looking for a few extra parking spaces. As our borough clerk, Jean, just alluded to, the majority of the staff at 15 Park Avenue have elected Friday, July 5th as their floating holiday this year, which would mean that the Borough Hall is closed for that holiday weekend. We all know that we celebrate July 4th with our parade on the 4th, our fireworks on the 6th, and hopefully nobody will meet us on the 5th because we won't be here. And I have one small item in closed session.
I also have a closed session on America. No.
Councilmember Maroney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We had a full meeting, and I'll go over something with you. We're going away about some repairs, but I guess we're looking at some new lifeguard stands replacement. There's some minor issues going on down at the pool.
Well, if I'd like to, Councilman, I did send a little memo out to those of you, because I couldn't be at the meeting last night. Every one of the items that was mentioned, because I was with David Welch today, and I did get got an email that described some of the issues. We're aware of them. They've actually all been taken care of to the extent that either parts are ordered. We do not need a new vacuum at the pool for $1,700. We're replacing the engine. Apparently, the youngsters at the pool did not know that you need to put oil in an engine to keep it running, so it burned out. But we're going to have, that'll cost us about $300, not $1,700 in the pool vacuum. Kiddie pool filters are already taken care of, and some of the other small items we've already addressed. So almost everything on that list was already underway. I met with David Welch today, our pool manager, and I suggested to him that he not wait until a pool meeting to bring things up. Calls me all the time anyhow, and if we get a heads up on some of these, some of them we knew about already, but for instance, some of the leaks, when David went there today, there were no leaks. But if, in the new Lexon. But anyhow, I did get the list, and for the most part, everything's already. The only other thing that we're waiting for is I had asked both Pat Gallagher and David. I am not an authority on lifeguard chairs, so they're supposed to get back to me. We are ordering 6 new ones as soon as they tell me which ones they want.
Great. The only other thing that I have are 2 things. On the recycling, on June 23rd, there's a household hazardous waste recycling program happening. That'll be at Borough Community College, 400 Paramus Road in Paramus. And on the recreation side, Lisa Shealy had passed over to me the list of the schedule for the shuttle bus. I guess the full pickups will be 11:15 and 11:30 on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Drop off at Memorial School, and after care pickups at Memorial School are 3:15 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and drop off is at the recreation center. That is the Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. I had the pleasure of attending the Maywood Avenue School Student Council election, and I just wanted to say how impressed I was with our youngsters on a couple of grounds. All the speakers were very, very good. But Miss Mosca, Lucia Mosca, who won school president, her speech was outstanding. She didn't even look down at her paper. She memorized all of it. She engaged the audience. She reached out to them. She sought response from them. I mean, it was a sign of somebody who maybe has a budding future in politics. And And obviously, the students recognized that expertise, and they rewarded her, with the presidency for it. So I just wanted to congratulate her. And then the second matter, I made a visit to the Hyler Street Regional Post Office, which covers Maywood, to try and speak with the postmaster to find out what would be involved to get a new street address for the rehab center. Unfortunately, the 2 times that I stopped there on my way back to my office, he was not there, but I'm going to keep trying. And that's it. Thank you. Councilman Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While we're on the Maywood Avenue School, I just want to congratulate everybody that participated in the Wizard of Oz production over last weekend. The kids did a tremendous job. I hope everybody had a chance to see it. They really did a great job. The costumes and a little slight variation, but it was a lot of fun, and the kids did a great job. DPW-wise, I've been working and speaking with Mr. Buskowitz in the garage on a regular basis. We're instituting a new and improved preventive maintenance schedule on all borough vehicles. We're doing more repairs in-house, which in the long run will only save us money. We're doing more work in-house, getting more timely repairs completed, things that have fell by the wayside, so to speak, doing better upgrades, more proactive maintenance on the police cars, borough vehicles, recycling trucks, and the like. So things are going very well down in the garage. We will have an item or 2 or 3 capital items which we can discuss going forward. There's several items that we could add to the list and pick and choose moving forward. Also, just a follow-up, Administrator, with the mulch. Any progress on that by any chance?
The rain is holding us up, but as you know, we were sitting in the office together, and I've called them on numerous occasions, so...
And if we could follow up and get a certification from them that is actual playground mulch. I heard through the grapevine sometimes they make substitutions. So if we can follow up on that, that would be wonderful. Also, we had spoken briefly about, I know we didn't have a chance to follow up on, garbage cans for bus stops. If we can maybe follow up with our Clean Communities monies. I know we do use that for the summer help, but if we can provide some kind of relief at the bus stops, I know we touched upon it before. There's several locations that the heavy-duty garbage that the residents pick up on their own. Hackensack has some nice garbage cans that they have next to each bus stop on Passaic and Esplanade and their main thoroughfares.
Central Park has it too, at 60 as well.
So we can incorporate that in somehow.
I have no problem with that. Just that there's only one that's been brought to my attention that was an issue. If there are a few of them, just let me know. And if I'm just ordering new trash cans and recycling cans for the pool to replace the ones that are falling apart. I could certainly add to that list if you want to use the same ones and put those at the bus stop. So
That would be great.
I'll take a look at it and see if they're appropriate.
Sure.
Unless maybe something else is better.
And, for next meeting, I'll have some other information, some grant things I'm working on to present to the council. That's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor. And one closed session item, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Council President, please go ahead.
Thank you. The fire chief has prices on the turnout gear, the replacement turnout gear, and will make his recommendations to the council on which company he feels is best to go with. As you know, we received a grant. The grant writer was able to secure a grant for us for some of the money, and we'll be using it. We'll be using that, the rest from the capital bond, I suppose. I want to give a big thank you to Ms. Arlene Formasano. The other day, the DPW superintendent and I were picking up the fence for the community garden, and we had just paid, and Arlene walked in and reminded us and reminded several Home Depot people that Borough is receiving 10% discount, so she saved the Borough $130 by doing that. So thank you very much. With regard to the ambulance Squad. I just want to address something really quick. There's been a rumor flying around that maybe there's some kind of shared service or some kind of replacement pending with Paramus or something to that effect. I don't know the exact rumor. I know the source. This being the start of the silly season, I just want to quell any rumors. There is no plan, and never has been a plan, to get rid of our EMS, replace them. Our volunteers are the backbone of this town. Fire police, fire department, EMS, the council. We are all volunteer, and they save the borough hundreds, actually millions of dollars a year, millions by having volunteers. So I think any rumors like that just serve to demoralize our volunteers, and I would wish that anybody who is doing that would stop. And if it doesn't know, you just ask a member of the council. You can talk to Roberta, anybody. If you have any questions, just ask her, and she'll be glad to straighten that situation out. That is it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
I have just a couple items. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Medley was here.
Yes, sorry.
How are you, Councilman?
It's Sterling Compton, Councilman. I've heard his family as well, so thank you. Just to reiterate with Councilman fundraiser, I remember that rumor being rolled out about us firing all the EMTs 2 years ago when I was running, so it sounds like we just kind of get recycled just to get the fervor of, oh my goodness, they're going to, we'll all be having bucket brigade at the fire in Maywood soon. But actually, no, I don't have any report tonight. That's fine.
Thank you. A couple of things. The green team, while we're talking about the green team and the new fence that will be going up, the fence is through the Home Depot grant and the PSE&G grant. Hopefully that'll be going up soon. Talking to Mr. Fleischman and Mr. Bray about how we're going to do that. But June 18th, the green team is sponsoring a master who is coming to the community garden to do a lecture on growing home gardens. It's the first in what I hope is going to be an ongoing lecture series about sustainability, recycling, and all the good things that we can do at the community garden. So that is going to happen on June 18th at 6 p.m. At the community garden that's located basically at the intersection of Fairmount and Palmer and the dead end of Edel. So hopefully everybody will turn out. The DPW has started to leave tree stumps for the green team to utilize as seeding for trees that are coming down in the borough, recycling the trees as they're coming down. So that's going on the 18th. Touch on with Mr. Maroney with regard to recycling. The electronics recycling event that we had on June 1st brought in basically a 24-foot tractor-trailer worth of televisions and electronics. To date, I think from the few events that we've had, I guess there's 4 events that we've had this year, we've collected about 21,000 pounds of electronic recycling. So I appreciate everybody on the recycling committee, and especially Lisa Shealy, who heads up that program. It's a great job. It's money that the borough gets, and it also helps the community get rid of items that you would otherwise not be able to get rid of easily. We'll probably do another one in the fall, I guess. We'll probably do another shred event in the fall. And every council member who participated and helped out, Councilman Fleischman was there, and Maroney, Ray, and Councilman Eisenberg made a contribution that had to be at least 10 pounds worth of shred. So I thank everybody who helped out with that. The capital bond that we've been talking about the past couple of weeks, right now I'm going to put together an ad hoc committee to kind of flush out some of the details on what the borough needs, what the borough's goals may be to include in that capital bond, and present it to the council for further discussion once it's kind of all put together. And I'd like Councilman Fleischman to serve on that, and Councilman Bray and the borough administrator, and if we can, the 4 of us can get together, kind of put a lot of these items that we've been talking about over the past few months, and it includes paving projects that we discussed earlier tonight, the HVAC system at the senior center, just to get completely replace some of the equipment for the fire department.
Library.
The library elevator needs to probably be included in that. There's a lot of items at Memorial Park, including some off-field repair. I know DPW has some items that need to be addressed. Quite frankly, the memorials at Memorial Park are in a frightening state of disrepair. And I know the American Legion wants to work with the borough and try to get them repaired as well. So hopefully we can do this all in one foul swoop and take care of a lot of open-ended items. We'll meet very soon to try to get that back to the council sooner than later.
Sooner than
Get moving on these projects. And I do have a closed item. Just a few last-minute reminders, I guess, of upcoming events again. 4th of July parade. Former Councilman Jack Savage is the Grand Marshal this year, as everybody knows. It's a great honor for Mr. Savage and the town, quite frankly. So turn out for the 4th of July. We have a couple of new bands this year that will be in the parade, additional bands. It should be a very good event. Fireworks will be on the 6th, on Saturday again. There'll be live entertainment before the fireworks like we had last year. And the Fall Festival obviously being October 6th. And August 6th being National Night Out. Because the borough is planning everything on the 6th. It makes it very easy to remember. So that's what's going on there. I did have a meeting with the library board trustees and Hackbark Foundation. They were in town last week, the week before. Very productive meeting. Everybody's well aware that the Hackbark Foundation supports our library and many different events and programs that would not otherwise get done in this town. And I've said it before, our library is probably our greatest asset in this town, and we are very, very fortunate to have the Hackbark Foundation supporting that library and getting things done. They're going to be doing a capital project themselves very soon that's going to renovate the interior of the library, and those are simply six-figure projects that the borough probably would never be able to do. So thank you to the Hackbark Foundation and to all the trustees that work on that board and the library. That's all that I have. Open the meeting to the public. Any members of the public? Okay.
Hi, Arlene Formasano, 608 Edel. I called Mr. Mazur and left a message on his machine. I also spoke with Gene Fledra. There's a house on Edel Avenue. Okay? The grass is higher than the fire hydrant. Houses have been abandoned for many, many years. There had been a tarp on the house, on the roof, but it's been off since Sandy. And from the neighbors, because I talked to all of them, they know that the roofs have been caving in, the ceilings have been caving in. And, you know, I can't imagine what the backyard looks like, but there's probably quite a few animals living in there. I walk my dog there every day, and, you know, you do worry, you see the bunnies hopping, but you wonder what else might be back there. And it really is not nice. And I'm sure if it was on the parade route, it would be taken care of. So, yeah, that's a little, but I mean,
Mr.
Steve...
Mazur actually went there on Friday.
I know, but the grass is really...
Unfortunately, there's a few properties like that in town.
I have a stack of notices here and I have a bunch in my car, and he's actively going after all of these properties, and if that one's not already on my list that I've got, I'll make sure it gets added.
But, you know, it is really not...
For the
Right,
Home Depot.
right, but it's...
I called Gina right away.
But it's only, you know, like a block away, and it's, I live on that block, you know, and it's just, you know, terrible, because everybody else keeps their houses so nice, and you see this...
Ultimately, what may happen in those types of situations is that the town will do it and then put a lien on the property, but, you know, we try to work with the banks. Unfortunately, a significant amount, not only in this town, and in every town that's going
Right,
on.
yep.
And for the most part, banks do react to it, but sometimes they don't. So we
Yeah,
keep
but I mean,
on that
it really is terrible.
Try to spoil us less. I've got 6
He doesn't walk that way. I do all the time. He walks a different way. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Roseanne O'Neill.
And I want to thank you for your response, your very quick response to my concerns. And I want to thank Roberta for calling me and giving me some more information. I just had one question. Roberta was just saying that, and I guess you were saying it also, that the banks are tough to work with. And I guess someone, buzzed my ear about the fact that there's a administrative warrant that allows you to go on the property to check it out. Because the Board of Health came, Margaret Dunn, and she said, can I go to you in your yard? And I said, what for? And she said, well, I can't go on the property to look at the pool. The pool has almost 2 feet of water and about 6 inches of mud. And I sent you the picture, Greg, Mr. Mayor. So I guess the frustration here is that why am I held responsible for the environment and the banks aren't? I still haven't gotten a clear answer as to why that. And then, of course, it's not just me, it's all my neighbors. My grandson today, I couldn't stop him. He had to go in the yard. He has welts. They're not mosquitoes, they're welts on his arm. And now I can't go in the yard. I can't let him in the yard. So, again, I'm not here complaining. I'm just trying to understand how we cannot hold them responsible.
Well, we ultimately can, and we can abate the problem, and again, put a lien back on their property, which the bank will have to pay when it sells the property or satisfies or transfer the property to somebody.
Right.
The problem with getting in touch with the banks is you go through 18 different layers, and obviously the borough just wants to start maintaining everybody's individual properties that have a problem, but in this situation, I think it's dangerously close to not having a choice.
Right, well,
But to address that.
This is a very unusual circumstance, and we've had this, and I don't think it's necessary to talk about it in public because some of the circumstances are a little unusual. We could talk about it in closed, but Mrs. O'Neill and I have had conversations. There's a child involved here. There's some very strange stuff going on. John's Landscaping was hired by the former owner of the property, not the bank, to maintain the property, or at least one of his foremen was, but they were not given the go-ahead to clean the backyard, just to clean up the front. The backyard is where the issue is. So I think at some point it probably would be incumbent upon us to have the DPW drain that pool and leave that particular situation. But we do try to give in this case, the bank is in Denver, and we've been in touch with them. We've left messages back and forth. If we don't hear from them, generally within a week to 10 days, we will send the DPW out, but of course, when they have time to go in and do something like draining that pool in the back and cutting the grass, and at which time the lien is put on the property, which would be paid at the time of a closing. So it's a time issue, unfortunately. Not that we're not watching it. There are more than one. We have a number of foreclosures. There's one on Spring Valley Road where the windows are open and things are going in and out. The bank finally closed the windows for us and cleaned up some of the yard, but it's not a perfect science. And as you said, we have to wait a certain amount of time before we send in our troops, and then we wait for the money to be refunded.
The process has started.
Right. This is just a little unusual because, and we've talked about this because of some of the family relationships and.
Now they're
Somebody living in the house right now?
Well, this is a soap opera.
That's why I said I'm not sure we should be talking about it in open session, but there are special circumstances there.
They're bad.
And we know about it because we've had a conversation, and the chief and I have had some conversations about it.
They had a drug bust there. But thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Anybody else in the public? Mr. Richards.
Let Mr. Lance.
I can't wait.
That's not an inexpensive thing. Tom Richards, 247 Gulf Avenue. That's not an inexpensive thing because you have to pump the water into a tank and have it moved out. It's not like you put it into the sanitary, into the storm sewer system. The question I have is with respect to Hunter Avenue. Have you discussed with the engineer? Is that going to be just a mill and pave, or is it a rebuild? Because $150,000
Leaving the extra money probably to the capital bond.
But do you have any idea what level they're going to do?
Yeah, we talked about.
Totally
last year
down.
With the engineer.
It's going to be more than mill and pave, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and what about mill and pave on Spring Valley? Just mill and pave on Spring Valley. All right. With respect to the grant that you're getting for the fire department, you realize, of course, that the last two grants that the borough got for fire and first aid turnout gear were done by a member of the first aid squad with no cost to the borough.
I think they got it through the Hackbarth fund, if I'm not
No.
For the turnout gear, I think it was.
Well, there was some of
Which
it.
the Hackbarth
There were two grants
Foundation
written,
was that they
there were
want
two
to do
FEMA
that.
grants written, one for fire, one by George, I'm trying to think of his name because I'm out of the point, but he wrote the grants himself for the squad. We got the blue turnout gear through that, the protective gear that the squad has to have that. But all of that was done in-house by the member. The grant writer, what else have they written with respect to grants for the borough since?
They got a $200,000 grant from the county basically for the house. It's a matching grant.
Yeah, but that was Green Acres, right? No, that was Open Space.
Open Space.
Yeah, you guys could have done it, but okay. But that said,
That's why we hired her.
oh well, but that open grants, the open space money for the county was always done in-house. I just.
In the past it was, but
Well, yeah, but it was easy to do. But how much are we paying her a month? Or him, or them, what, a month?
$1,500.
$1,500 a month? And how many grants?
5.
5?
Plus
totaling?
plus the ones that she's working on for the Board of Education, because we
Okay,
have an
but that
interlocal
grant-
with
but
them.
We're not paying the Board of Education money, right? They're paying
We have-
themselves?
doing a shared service.
We're doing a shared service.
But are they reimbursing us for that?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's what
With
shared
respect-
services.
With respect to that, what is the total amount of money that you've gotten? $1,500 a month for 18 months?
I guess.
27,000, 10,000.
Get the number, too.
I'm just, the only reason
I know
I'm concerned.
I know
I would say
No, I'm concerned because a lot of it all is
About-
No, absolutely. I don't know if you think, a
About-
lot of this was done in-house. This was done
Right.
in-house, and it was done by different members of the borough. Okay, I just think $1,500 a month for 5 grants in 18 months is a lot of money.
Question is, who did the streetscapes?
There's no question that certain grants were done. For example, the solar panels, all right? I did the initial work on the solar panels, but it got to the point where it was very technical. You needed certain people. Streetscapes grants, there was certainly a grant writer held for that particular unit, but it was a $3 million grant. And it was around $10,000. I don't recall.
Rest assured, we're shooting for the big ones as well.
I understand that.
One of the good
I'm not seeing a return on the dollar, okay? You know, as a former businessman, I have a 40-year history in business, okay? It's your return on the dollar. And quite frankly, at $1,500 a month,
And we're well over $200,000 in return.
Right.
well, it's still, with respect to the total amount.
Yeah,
Could we do this? Can we put together some kind of document so that we can see what that is?
Absolutely.
Okay, because quite frankly, I don't see a lot of banter back and forth, okay, which you guys might think is a good thing. But for years, there was open discussion on different issues back and forth on the council. I don't see that.
You know, one of the
grants.
funniest things though about grants and the things that we get is, it's great to get them, but if they're reimbursable, and if you don't put in for the money, and the money's sitting out there and never recouped by the town, guess what?
That's
The value really isn't
correct?
there,
Well,
and that's
it
happened
certainly-
on more than one
it
occasion.
certainly it
You
did.
found that one, you get
Well,
it.
last one was $738,000.
What was that for?
One of the grants that we had from a previous time that nobody,
Explain to me exactly which one that was.
the sewer infiltration, the
Well, sewer
infrastructure.
infiltration,
Yeah.
there was nothing really done with, the only work that was done on that, the only work that was done on that was Lincoln and Mendez, okay, which was at the very end of my tenure, okay, very end of my
I'm
tenure.
not talking about tenure, I'm talking about getting the money back,
Well, I
and
can tell you-
not leaving information
I
so
can
that
tell
people
you-
know that you're supposed to be, applying for the money so you get back the money.
I can tell you that
We spent it.
when I took over the job, previous administrator, there was nearly $2 million in income that I had to recover. So...
I know the feelings.
Well, are you accusing me of not...
I'm not accusing you of
No, well,
anything,
I mean,
I'm
make
just
the
saying.
statement.
You
Make the
said-
statement.
yeah, well,
Make the statement.
Nobody's accusing anybody.
I'm not
of
accusing
anything.
you.
this is
We're not accusing the
Tom.
fire administrator.
Quite frankly,
Exactly.
Quite frankly,
And I'm
I
just
asked the
saying,
question.
I know the
I asked the
feeling.
question several months after I left office. If there was any problems, anything that I could help with, any monies that had to be recovered, and I was told no. Good night.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close it from the public. We have no resignations. We do have two sets of appointments. DPW seasonal clean communities workers, the names and hourly wage listed. We have several rec program counselors, names and the hourly wage listed. We have one more that we have to add tonight.
Yes.
And that's the pool administrative assistant.
Assistant manager.
I think we kind of talked about this individually. It was brought up at the pool. Mr. Mark Walker, at $8,200 for the season, which is the lowest out of the three pool managers himself.
Well,
That vacancy occurred when Ralph retired as pool manager and David Wells moved up to the assistant, to the
To
pool
manager.
manager from the assistant. Michael was recommended by the pool committee, subcommittee at his hiring, and Roberta and Pat Gallagher from the pool committee. So adding him to the agenda, which I apologize for not having him on earlier.
and I apologize too, because I thought I had done it, and I didn't.
So if anybody...
But he started work this past week.
Want to discuss him before we go through any approval? Do that.
It's a good guy, good appointment.
All right. Do I have a motion to move the appointments with the amendment?
Make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Barone?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Neglia?
Yes.
Ballerini? Johnson? Fleischman?
Yes to 1 and 3, abstain from 9 and 2.
Labret?
Yes.
Okay, we have council approval. Carlos Mercedes to hold the second annual Maywood Hawks 5K race on Sunday, October 6, 2013. I think he was here 2 meetings ago. Okay. He's proposing to do what he did last year, basically, hold the 5K race
Prior to the fall festival.
prior to the fall festival, the morning of the fall festival.
Move for the approval?
Second. Roll call.
Barone? Yes. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Neglia?
Yes.
Fleischman?
Yes.
Labret?
Yes.
Resolutions by title.
Resolution 9213, transfer of liquor license on a person-to-person, place-to-place basis to Tracy LLC, trading as Burnett Variety Store. Resolution 9313, renewal of 2013-2014 liquor license. Resolution 9413, resolution authorizing the redemption of the tax sale certificate for Block 94, Lot 20 to Robert Worthman.
We have motions to adopt.
Move for the adoption?
Second?
Discussion.
Yes.
On the renewal of the liquor licenses, I welcome any interest that Vornado has in developing in the borough, but they've held on to the old McTool's liquor license for quite some time now. I know it's in excess of 5 years. And I'd like to see something done with that license. I think we should reach out to them and either ask them to put
They've been approved to have the license as a 1239 ruling, a pocket license inactive through next year, 2014. They have to apply to the state for the, to have an inactive license. Of course, the council ultimately approves it, but they've been approved by the state to extend it through 2014 as of last year, they have a 2-year.
Can that go on indefinitely?
It can go on so long as they can prove it. Under the administrative code, you have to provide some evidence to the state board. It's pretty light evidence, and a lot of times these things do go on for a long time. The state will prove it for a long time. However, I mean...
I have to say that I've had a discussion with them with regard to this. It's not because they're not looking for a place to put it.
And that's
They
really the
did
threshold
have,
proof that they have to show is that
Right.
we've been trying to use it. And
right.
there's an
They've
affidavit.
used up most of their pads.
They don't have to use it there, when they can use it anywhere in town. But they have used up a lot of their pad space.
And I just, want to say
One other
for the
one.
record, I don't want to antagonize or get into any battle with Tornado. I welcome anything that they want to do with the borough, but if it's going to sit like this indefinitely, there's certainly several restaurants in town that would do well by that license.
The unfortunate thing is, I think what I recollect on what the premium they paid for that
Yeah.
license, they're
Correct.
probably not looking to transfer it to anybody or somebody's not willing to pay the premium to have it transferred to them. That's the unfortunate thing.
And everyone has control over that anyway. Personal investment decisions based on their personal needs, but that's not what the market will necessarily bear. And, if the license is not going to sit out there indefinitely and there's some sort of timetable put on it, then, they may be more eager to accept some reasonable offers.
But what I'm hearing is that I don't think that as long as they meet the state requirement, we can't really...
It can, but ultimately, you have the ultimate decision to do it, but at the end of the day, if the state has signed off on it, you're going to have difficulty sustaining that denial, I think.
They can appeal that with the commissioner as well. They can appeal any
Well, I
decision.
think the main point, as Councilman Eisenberg stated out, we're not looking to have an antagonistic relationship with Vornado. So,
I think the borough meets with them somewhat regularly.
Yes.
Trying to get them motivated and do.
and I know that's not the intention to create an antagonistic relationship because they are very good neighbors, so.
Liquor licenses are limited by population, and so...
Unless they're grandfathered in.
Unless they're grandfathered in. I think we actually exceed our population.
Yes, we do.
But I just don't think that the intention is to be something shelved forever. And that's all.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Barone?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Meglia?
Yes.
Fleischman?
Yes.
Severag?
Yes.
We have no ordinances, why don't we skip over to the action list items? Capital bond, we kind of talked about, hopefully the committee will get together very soon, kind of put an itemized list together, get a total number worth of the CFO who is retiring, about $400,000 worth of unused bonds, make a proposal to the council for the new bond, and hopefully we'll be able to get that done.
Sooner than
passed,
later.
And get the money by the end of the summer, hopefully.
So we can go to bid on some of the projects.
15-minute parking. Talked briefly, I guess, with the police department about some changes to 15-minute parking uptown. I want to talk about it with the council. There's two particular 15-minute parking designated spots that maybe need to be reconfigured as we shuffle around some tenancies there. The one is the one directly in front of the Pancake House on the corner of Palmer, Bergen, I guess, and Pancake House is a 15-minute spot right there now. That, given the fact that the Pancake House is the primary tenant there, then you have a dress store, and you really don't get to a 15-minute use type of business until you get down to the Mean Doggy, really, or even Subway if you really want to get a quick turnaround. So perhaps we should give some consideration about withdrawing that one, changing it back to the 2-hour sign. And then there is one that was changed from 15-minute to a 2-hour that probably should go back to a 15-minute, and that is down on the westerly side, I guess, of near Lincoln and Pleasant, in front of basically Timely Cleaners. There are two signs that are right next to each sign. Looking at it, it seems that that one maybe should go back to a 15-minute as well, given the fact that you have timely. You do have a 15-minute in front of Coronets, and further up, you have another 15-minute in front of the other dry cleaners down by the UPS store. But throw that out thoughts and consideration too. I don't know if anybody's seen any other ones around. I mean, obviously, these things can't be set in stone because when tenants come in, we got to make, I think, we should be making accommodations for the tenants. If a business who's typically a quick turnaround kind of business doesn't have a turnaround for parking, it's not going to be around for too long. So that's my thought on those are the only two that I've had thoughts with.
I just think it's great that Pleasant Avenue is so busy and that you can't find parking spaces. That means our businesses are doing well. So
And I think
I'm
there's
happy to
only
see that.
2 spots now open that are really open.
And the one next to the dance studio and
Coronet.
the other construction in front of it, right? I don't know if someone's ready or if they're preparing to.
I heard that there might be a tenant going in there.
It's tentative, but the tenant is tentative, but they're doing the work.
Right.
Could we have these floating situation whereby we say there shall be 10, 15-minute signs, states that the council shall see fit from
Well,
time to time, and then maybe
So we don't have to keep amending the ordinance as well.
so we don't keep amending the ordinance, and also could we possibly purchase some brackets that perhaps clamp around the bollards so that we wouldn't have to drill a sign post all the time to move them, and DPW could do it as a regular
President wanted to back to back. Switch the one at the pancake house, you're not gonna take that sign out, you're just gonna turn
No,
it
just
into a 2-hour
right,
parking sign.
right.
But ultimately, you may wind up having, like, from time to, you have 2 that are right next to each other, actually, right now. A lot of sense, unless we change it from 15 minutes, it makes no sense for all of this, but.
Doesn't cost any bolts. Doesn't cost any.
Not a big thing.
Wow.
It's not a heavy lift, this one.
No, that's also no paint involved with it.
You want to put this on for the next meeting?
If anybody doesn't have any problems with it,
There's no paint.
I'll talk to Officer World, make sure he doesn't have any problems with it. But which I don't think he does, I think we talk to the chief.
But I think we need to look at the number of spots total, the number of 15 minutes that we need, and how they relate to the businesses.
Well, we actually,
That's how we got to this
we
point.
did walk it last year. Right, and we did change some last year. So I think we should allow it to be fluid, because as the mayor said, it depends on the tenants, and they'll change, and it's not a major thing, and, we just watch it so that we don't
And
inconvenience
it's reviewed annually.
our business owners.
You get a summons, you get a report, designation.
That's the only problem.
Designation of it.
Yeah.
Ordinance. Somebody's gonna get a ticket.
Well, we could do an annual review and then change that ordinance once a year, if need be.
I mean, how often are we really gonna do it? I mean,
Not that often.
Sure, but, I like the idea, it makes it a lot easier, but I'm not so sure how you can do that when you have to go to court with it.
Right.
If somebody gets crazy and challenges it, which,
Happens all the time.
Yeah, the problem with the bollards is, first of all, they're not connected.
they're movable.
They spin, so the sign can spin around. You can lift them off and you can switch and put another one.
That is
Does anybody have a problem with making those changes for next time, maybe?
No, sir.
No. Next item is street fair.
Favor of that. Favor of that.
As you know, the Chamber of Commerce wants to hold the street fair again on August
16.
16th.
Not the 6th?
No, it's not.
Just check.
But it does have a 6th. So we have to talk about whether we want to grant that approval. When it came before us the last time, they requested the 2 be approved. We only approved the April one. We're getting postponed.
Well, I was not here that day, but I did hear that it was very successful. They were very happy with it on a lot of different levels. So if we want to check with the members of the Chamber of Commerce just before we go ahead and approve it at the next meeting, but I think it should be approved if it's going to be at the next meeting, so, we don't have they don't have a problem, it's not our contract, it's the Chamber's contract, with the second date, because both of the dates were mentioned in the contract that the Chamber has with J.C. Promotions.
Well, that's been a problem for years because the Chamber can't sign the contract. The Borough has to sign.
No, the contract
Well,
is...
they can sign the contract, we just can't do anything. with it.
Exactly, right. But the contract is,
They shouldn't
the
be
contract is
contracting a
between
vendor, period,
them.
unless they have council approval first.
They should-
But
I
that was the
don't
problem.
think that holds us up, and I don't, and I think if this council wants to say no
Right,
to it,
exactly.
we say no to it, I don't think that can hold you up. I mean, I think,
Well, clearly they'll run better. They've been greatly improved over the last several years, definitely, without a doubt. And if we're getting reimbursed for our overtime and our personnel, it's a win-win, yeah.
Why August and not September?
Yes, I think that's not too early, yeah.
It's always when they've run them, and frankly, I'll be just as happy that it's August. I don't want competition with our fall festival, October 6th. So get that out of the way, we have a breather,
I mean, they're
Labor Day, and then we go...
Having a conversation with the chamber about potentially doing one, and trying to put together a car show type of situation for the other,
Right.
rather than doing two street fairs, where that would be a little more localized for vendors in town rather than vendors from out of town. And I know that they've been kind of receptive to that.
Except they did so well in April that...
They did well. I know a lot of the businesses did well. And there are other businesses, quite honestly, that don't do well on those days. I know,
It's always gonna happen.
certain businesses who lose parking and.
Well, there are things that you can't sell on Sunday in Bergen County, so there are certain stores that cannot participate.
But there are some retail stores that do worse that day than they would on a normal Sunday.
Sure.
Just because of the road being blocked.
Lazy And a lot of people go to the beach too. And when the fall starts, people like to have something to do on the weekends. It's not to be October, but...
Well, I mean, again, it's not our, again, we don't negotiate the dates with them,
The vendor scheduled it, but,
Right.
I mean, last year it was pretty crowded last year, but we also had lost the April one last year.
Yeah.
It just got rained out. So I don't know whether that impacted August or not.
Where the weather is, we'd likely get August rain.
We may get rained out in August. There really isn't a rain date for this thing.
No.
The Chamber's already come to terms with the vendor on this date.
It was on the first go-around.
Right.
They wanted us to
We just told them that we were only approving the first one.
I mean, if they don't want to do a car show, they don't, or maybe you could, I don't want approving this, but definitely making it clear to the chamber that 2 street fairs per year is not ideal as a concept. Think about it. That they really want to either maybe at the least move the second one to early September, or really think of the second themed event for the fall. But it went over well. For this year, may not be a bad idea just to do the second one.
So, do you want to put it on the agenda to vote on for the next meeting?
It's September 6th, though.
Next item is garbage contract. Our garbage contract is up for renewal. City Magazine.
Or exercising our options.
Exercising our options.
Right. So I'd like to put that on for the next meeting if we could.
$500 a month.
Difference for the next 2 years.
See their proposal for the next meeting?
Sure. It's the original one.
It's the original.
The original.
It's the original contract.
With options for,
Right. We signed it for a year with an option to extend for 2 years.
Yeah, the last one, the price increase was about 20%, so now the option includes what percentage increase?
It's $500.
What do we pay?
$500 is paid up.
What do we
A
pay?
month.
No,
A month.
What do we pay for the labor separate from the tonnage?
Labor.
What do we pay them for doing it?
We get the tonnage. The tonnage is separate.
We pay the tonnage ourselves.
No. We do, we're just talking
What?
recycling.
Recycling, yeah. Tonnage, it's garbage, right. It's
Solid
separate.
waste removal.
So we pay for the volume of garbage
We pay them a
ourselves.
flat fee, basically.
We pay them to haul it, and we pay the tipping fee.
Right.
Whatever the tipping fees are. So
Right.
They don't,
Which isn't gonna change.
so what do we pay them to haul it right
Was it
18 and something, and it's 18 something, and it's $500 more, so it's
Right.
like 19 instead of 18.
19.1.
Right.
I didn't bring it.
$19,100 a month. That is it.
now? A month.
What's that?
What was that?
Well, that's how much it costs.
$18,000 a month.
Right now, it's 18,000.
1,800.
1,800,
Oh, no.
not 18,000.
It's 1,800.
1,800 and change, and it goes to 1,900 and change.
No.
No, it can't be.
Yes, sure can. So we pay
What do
them
you want?
$18,000 a month.
All right, so let's just say whether it's 1,800 or 18,000, it's $500 more, whichever it is.
So let's
Twice a week pickup.
500 divided by 18,000.
Can we use our home calculator?
No problem.
It's not on this bill, it's of course.
4%?
No,
I can't think.
I didn't bring it with me.
I should have written it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should go there.
But we kind of thought $500 was pretty good.
So did I.
I know it's a lot.
Is it 5% here?
No, it's not. Well, prior to anyway.
Right.
You'll all receive.
2.7%.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's keeping up with inflation.
Okay, that's all set.
Yeah.
Yay!
Will there be a resolution?
There'll be, of course.
When's the expiration, June?
It's July.
July.
It'll fall between our first and second meeting.
Right, so if it's
Let's
on the
move on.
agenda.
Get it
for
on
the
to
agenda.
next-
meeting.
Right.
If we have to deal with it. Vacating portion of Route 17.
That's gonna be our next meeting. Borough clerk was directed me to notify during the property owners, we tried to get a pass from the state, they didn't want to do it, so.
Well, actually,
And why don't we talk about, remind everybody what we're talking about here, beside the property location.
This is,
The remnants of the Route 17 widening at Essex Street.
in front of the Muscarelli, for the most part, building. It's a small, I forgot what kind of triangle it is, isosceles?
The old gas station, it's further south. than that.
Yeah.
It's right next to the Muscarelli property. It's a very small piece of property that we were hoping to hold on.
Piece that looks like that, and it's very small.
The square footage on here?
So it's very tiny. It's not a usable piece of property, and actually the AG's office is reviewing the requirement for the notice because of the fact that it's an unusual piece of property, small piece that fits under a certain statute guideline that they have, so they may reverse their opinion.
Let's go back to the state.
And the state's working with us to come up with a list of property owners, if in fact we do have to notice.
So we're, just want to get this straight, we're giving this value.
this thing.
No, to the property owner who will then pay tax on it. Who will, it'll be, right. It was just a little piece of property that slipped through the cracks when they,
When they did the widening.
right.
And Muscarel wants it, obviously.
Yeah. It's not going to add any substance to his property. We were hoping to keep it for the borough for potential use, but.
Too small.
Any kind of use. It was looked at, it was looked at, and it's too small, fit, it won't fit. Put one up.
If it's
It'll
a pole.
overhang, it'll fit
If it's a pole, it doesn't fit the
sign,
pole.
but it won't fit the sign. It'll overhang on the kitchen front.
cell phone tower?
That was the problem. Unless it was the tower itself.
Unless it was a tree.
Towers, it's,
Tree tower.
Just tower, it comes with.
The generator.
The generator, it's a.
That it would not fit.
Right.
Very small piece of property. Check that Lloyd at Arthur. Very small. Well, Lloyd at Arthur, it's a very small country, you probably know.
Yeah, I think it should be on.
It depends on, well, it depends on when we get that list or when they tell us what they're looking
We have
for.
to notify the right people.
Right.
The state's preparing the list, so I don't think there'll be more than 3 names on it.
Probably not.
So, what this is going on,
Well, if we get the notice out in time, then it could be on the next meeting. If we don't, then it'll have to be on the first meeting in July.
Well, we should anticipate that it'll be on, and if we have to table, we do that, because, like I said, it's just gonna be a few names, it's not gonna be like we're sending out a couple hundred letters.
right, and I believe you can also, you send those out after you introduce? Just before adoption, I have to receive it, am I correct? I don't know.
I'm not
We'll have to
sure.
look at it, it's been so long since I did one, so I don't know. But, that'll be on next meeting, right? June council meeting? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, we can probably do a skinny card. The skinny guy next to the skinny guy. The chief is here, I know the chief, it's not mentioned. The chief is looking to look to the council for an appointment to another police officer, which is something that we can discuss, continue to discuss. The ordinance memo went around to everybody. Did every council member, chief, get that memo?
No.
Or the memo that the chief wants to appoint, police.
So we do the memo for next meeting?
We should get it before then. Get a copy of it before the next meeting.
I can get it done. No, get it done.
The last officer we appointed was off for the rights list, correct? And has previous experience in
The officer is being recommended, or the procedure that is being recommended, correct me if I'm wrong, is getting a person who's put themselves through the academy, not a current police officer, but somebody who's put themselves through the academy.
that was ultimately where I was going with the question, what was that, put somebody through his
No,
through the academy?
the people that I believe the police department read down to their final selection, or at least the last two, had put themselves through the academy.
Because there's no experience built into the academy, so it's just a matter of bringing up to speed for what Maywood ordinance, I think.
Correct, they'd be on probation, like, the police officers, they come in, they have to read.
But the point is, we're not paying for them to go to the academy.
Ultimately, that was my question.
Yes, it's their responsibility. It's new terminology, but I forgot what it's
I
called.
think very important would be to talk to the CFO, because quite frankly, I don't know that we have any budget for that in the budget, so we should probably talk to him before we talk to anybody else.
Agreed.
I would get the information from council. Anybody else?
Well, I'm sorry. Besides info from the CFO, budgetary, need to see staffing level, what number of officers does this make in the department? Where are we going? Are we going to max out the ordinance? What are we doing here? What's the game plan with the department? Because adding another officer for the purpose of what? I think that should be included with the information.
This would
I
be,
know vacations, whatever's going on, that's great, but I'd love to have an update from the chief on the department, would be wonderful. And budgetary items to the CFO, if it is in fact budgeted. There's a lot of questions to be asked and answered. It's not just as simple as an alternate route cabinet.
I think this would make for one first officer excluding the chief, because we're 22.
All important questions. Or answers, which is-
Right. Anybody else have anything else? We have a couple of items to close. Take a motion to go into any new business, any old business, miscellaneous business. Take a motion to go into close. Motion to go into close.
Second.
Personnel. Is everybody personnel item?
Yes.
Be resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Maywood pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act that the mayor and council in closed session discuss the following subject matters. Subsection 8, involving personnel, be it further resolved that as precisely to be determined at this time, discussion conducted in said closed session may be disclosed to the public upon taking final action thereon, provided disclosure shall not violate the attorney-client privilege or constitute undue invasion of privacy. Be it further resolved, the mayor and council of the Borough of Maywood do not say to return to open session after this meeting, but reserve the right to do so.
Barone?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Neglia?
Yes.
Fleischman?
Yes.
Sedgwick?
Yes.
Okay, we are closed. We do not anticipate coming back out. However, we will reserve the...
Still have keys, yeah?
No.